I want to talk about how to get online if you're new, and even if you're not new to getting online. What I'm gonna share is gonna be really helpful for you, because I think there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of misconceptions on what it takes to get online. I think a lot of people feel like teaching online is like this long process or a complicated process or an expensive process or something that's really difficult. So what I want to do is kind of break down the steps that you need to go from I'm not a teacher online, I'm not making any income from online lessons, to I teach online now and I have students and this works for me. So in doing this, I'm going to make a few videos and I'm going to talk about some different tools that you need and different steps of the process. So we're going to talk about the idea of video conferencing and what kind of virtual classroom that you might need. We're going to talk about how to do payments. We're going to talk about how to do scheduling. We're going to talk about what you actually teach, and also where to get students is a big part of that. But what I want to do today is I want to just talk about like the overall theme of what we're going to do. And the overall theme really is how to keep things simple. The number one thing you need when you want to try to figure out either how to get online for the first time or how to grow your online teaching presence, you've got to keep things simple, because you don't need a website, you don't need a logo. There's all kinds of things that I see teachers getting really wrapped up in and then getting stumped. And I'll see teachers who don't have any students work really, really hard and spend a lot of time like setting up some kind of website and a payment gateway and all of these things, get frustrated, and then they end up saying, oh no, that just didn't work for me. Because what happens is you end up going down this other path that's like not the best place to start. So I see George asked a question, how do you approach conversation when you have an online group? Okay, this is great. So this is kind of a little pedagogical thing. So conversation in an online group is really not very different from when you're doing it in any other kind of setting. You just have to get used to the technology. You've got to get used to whether you're using Zoom. If you're using Zoom, which is usually the tool that I recommend, you've got to get comfortable with using your presence as the teacher and using your voice to direct who gets to speak when. So you can use the gallery view so that you can see everyone's faces. And when you're doing conversation, it's the kind of thing where like you might need to direct, instead of it just being a free-for-all, you as the teacher might need to direct, okay, so-and-so, now you're gonna speak. Please unmute yourself and allow them to speak, and then choose someone else. So the difference between doing that online versus doing it in person, the teacher might just need to have a little bit more of a hands-on role, and it can be tricky to get used to at first. But that's important. And good, I'm glad you're asking a question. So what I want to talk about is how to keep things simple. Now, there's a concept people talk about in terms of starting a business. And when you want to start a new business, a lot of people say that they're going to bootstrap their business. And when you bootstrap your business, that means that you're starting your business from nothing. You don't have like people giving you money to start your business. You're starting from zero. And when you bootstrap your business, and most of us, that's what we're doing, right? If you want to start an online ESL business, you're bootstrapping, and that means you don't have $10,000 in the bank so that you can pay someone $2,000 to build your website and spend another $1,000 on advertising to get students coming in the door. Yeah, that would be great, but the reality is that's not the situation that we're in. So what do you do? What are the first steps that you need to take when you're in a situation where, oh, I don't have $10,000 to start my business? So it starts with a very simple concept, and that means forgetting about doing things like in a fancy way. Don't worry about like the sexy, expensive, all-in-one solution, LMS, whatever it is. You want to use things that are low cost or free that solve 95% of your problem. So by using things that are low cost and free, and that get you most of the way there, that's what you need. Because what you need is to get started and to reduce the amount of time that happens between when you say, I want to start teaching online, and I'm now getting paid for teaching online. For you to succeed, you've got to make that time period as short as possible. And the way that that time period gets long is when you start making a big list of things to do for yourself. I need a website, has to integrate with payments, and I need a scheduling software, and I got a blog. When you start doing that, what you do is you start stretching out this period of time between when I'm starting and when I'm getting paid. And the longer that period of time stretches, the less likely you're going to get anywhere. The more likely you're just going to, at some point between here and here, you're going to say, this doesn't work for me. I give up. I'm spending too much time and I'm not getting rewarded for this. I'm not getting any income. So in order to really shorten that, what we really want to do is focus on the simplest possible things that we can do to get income, which means the simplest possible things you can do to get students. So we're going to talk more about getting students a little bit later, but as these videos progress, we're going to talk about the minimum viable technology solutions that you need and the minimum amount of effort that you need and where you should be expending it in order to get more students. So for today, if you are more inclined toward making a website, making a logo, making a this, starting my Facebook page and all that, I just want to encourage you to tap the brakes a little bit to say you may be putting the cart before the horse. You may be getting ahead of yourself. So let's talk about just the best way to start. The best way to start online teaching is how fast can you get one student? If you had to get one online student this week, could you do it? And as someone who's been working with teachers for the better part of the last 10 years, what I can say is the biggest determining factor whether an online teacher will be able to really make it or whether they're just going to continue to struggle and not really get anywhere often comes down to how long does it take you to get your first student? What are you going to do to get your first student? Because that is the real question is, how resourceful can you get? Because students don't fall out of the sky. Where do you get them? Can you start sending Facebook messages to people that you're friends with and just reaching out manually? Can you do emails? Are there people that you used to teach in a classroom setting? Do you have relatives? Are there people in your local community? This question, and it's hard, right? Because you have to think of things, and I might have to write a message, and I want to sell myself. You have to kind of confront all of these things that are really strong things that tend to hold people back. So if we want to shorten this gap between I'm starting online teaching and I'm getting income, the way to bring this to zero, 1 day, 1 week, that's what you're looking for. How do I get my first student? And it doesn't matter what the method is. It doesn't matter how you find them. It doesn't matter how many people you have to reach out to, your LinkedIn contacts. There are so many ways. Get yourself one student. Because when you get somebody to pay you for that first time, when someone is like paying you for your service, that's the best motivator that you can get to say, oh my gosh, I can do this. So I'm gonna have a few videos over the course of the next several weeks. I'm gonna talk about technology tools. I'm gonna talk about how to get everything you need so that you can start teaching online. But the theme is going to be how to keep it simple. Don't worry about the fancy solution. The fancy solution lives in a place called good problems to have. If you have so many students that your Google Sheet that you're using to manage them is no longer an adequate solution, wonderful. That's a good problem to have. And when you have good problems to have, that means you're making income. And when you're making income, then you'll be able to make other decisions, things that are inappropriate for you right now. So when you have lots of students, when you have so much happening with your classes that you just can't organize it anymore, yay, that's a great problem to have. But right now, you don't need to manage things with that in mind because you're not there yet. Stay where you are. And where you are is I have 0 students or I have X number of students, whatever you have, how do I get one more? So if there's a kind of a goal from this video, a thing to do, a homework assignment between now and next week when I make the next video is get a student. Do what you have to do. Talk to people. Don't be afraid. Reach out. Send Facebook messages. Send LinkedIn people. I'm not telling you to spam people and copy paste a message to 1,000 people. I'm not telling you to do that. But reach out. Think about friends, family members, people that you know who needs English. And will you be a person who can get over that fear, that hesitation that we all have, to reach out to someone and say, hey, I know you're a language learner. You may not know this, maybe you do know it about me, but I do online English lessons. Do you want to have a meeting, an online meeting, and we'll talk about if lessons are a good fit for you? Who can do that? So that's what I want to follow up on. Who can get a student between now and a week? If you've got 1 week, who can get one student? If you do it, post about it. If you have resistance, post about it. If you get 10 people saying no, post about it. Because of all the things we can talk about, all the pedagogy, all the resources, all the tools, the shiny objects, what is going to make you succeed or fail is, can you get students? So who between now and then can get a student? Okay, that's it for now. We're going to keep going with this theme. And if you have questions, as always, put them in the group. I'm super happy to interact here. Okay, everyone, I hope you guys have a great day, great night, and we'll talk again soon.